I'm doing good. He says, so what you up to? I said, well, just doing my business over here. And then he goes, he says, hey, honey, can I call you back? This idiot in the stall next to me keeps answering my questions. All right, Wes, you're going to help me out. Who are you?
Lancelot.
You're who?
Lancelot.
Lancelot.
Like tonight.
That's a good name. Where you from?
RC Claymore here with Salsa Crew.
You're with who?
RC Claymore, I'm here with Salsa Crew.
I still understood a word you said. Right? Okay, got it. Good. Okay. Here's the thing. Okay, wait, I'm going to tell you one more story. So this happens. There's a guy, the longest running television program in the history of the Milky Way galaxy was a television program called The Sportsman's Friend. You probably never heard of it, don't worry about it. It's a guy who was a fisherman, and for 50 years, I'm not making this up, 50 years, this guy had a fisherman show where he took all these celebrities out and they would fish together. All right, he's like 90 years old. He's a member of my church in Kansas City, which is also very friendly. West, you're still with me up here, aren't you? Yeah. You're drifting, man. I can tell you you're about half gone right now. Stay with me. You still with me?
Yeah, I'm good.
That's good. Okay. So I decided my church, this guy's 90 years old. He's well known. We'll have a big shindig and have everybody come out, and celebrate and all that kind of stuff. So we get him here. Listen to this. I'm not making this up. 2 former governors of the state of Kansas come to my church, like a senator's there, a congressman, the vice president of Walmart. They're all sitting here. Y'all okay standing, right? All right, we're having a banquet, and this guy's going to get them to say a few Christian words. It's kind of a cool deal. So the teenagers in my church, they're serving the dinner. You ever been to a banquet? If you have like green beans, it's always the same. Green beans and chicken and a roll and a pat of butter. Right? You see a little pat of butter? It's always the same. You know where this is going? So this guy, his name is Harold Inslee. He's sitting at the head table. The whole state of Kansas has come to hear him speak. So this teenage guy, it's like a 15-year-old kid, comes up, and Inslee says to him, hey, can I get a second pat of butter for my bread? And the kid says, no, we only got 1 pad of butter per person. So Inslee's kind of full of himself. He says, hey, you know who I am? And the boy says, no. And he says, I'm Harold Inslee. Had the longest running television show in the history of TV. I got 2 governors, a senator, a congressman, vice president of Walmart, all here to hear me speak. Walmart carries my product. There are 300 people here for me tonight. Yeah. So the boy says, all right, you know who I am. He says, no, I don't know who you are. He says, I'm the boy in charge of the butter, and you're getting 1 pad tonight. So here's the deal. You know what that kid knew? He knew who he was. That's what we're going to do right now. I'm going to ask you, do you know who you are? Because here's the thing. One Father, but it only matters if you know who he is. It only matters if you know who he is. So I did this exercise years ago in my life, and I'm going to walk you through it. You guys are going to lead us in it, all right? I'm going to say it, and then you lead your crowd.
Okay.
These are your people.
Okay.
If they follow you, you go to heaven. So there's a lot of snakes. There's a lot of snakes here.
I got this. No.
Get this right, Wes. Get this right, man. Get this right.
Come on, Wes. You're carrying this team right now.
All right, so here we go. We're going to practice it first. You ready? I'm going to walk you through line by line. You good? You still with me? Everybody ready? All right, say this with me. Because of who he is. Say that. Lead your people.
Because of who he is.
All right, let's coordinate that. Because of who he is.
Because of who he is.
Get your people saying that. Because of who he is.
Because of who he is.
That's good. Do it one more time.
Because of who he is.
This is who I am.
This is who I am.
I follow Jesus Christ.
I follow Jesus Christ.
I will not back down.
I will not back down.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you. Give a round of applause. Nice job. You sit down. Hey, you know what? You need to say that, and you need to mean it. You need to say it, and you need to mean it. Because here's the deal. When you know who you are, then you will know what to do. And until you know who you are, you'll never know what to do. Your whole life, you'll be pushed back and forth. You'll be knocked around. You'll never know what's a good decision until you know who you are. And so what I want to help you do is to see you have one Father. When you get that clear, you will know who you are and you will know what you need to do from this point forward. So you need to draw a line on the sand and say, because of who He is, this is who I am. I follow Jesus Christ. I will not back down. So help me God. Now my text is, I got two texts because I got it crossed on it somehow or another. 1 Corinthians chapter 8. I'm going to read this text to you. The scripture says this. For us, there is but one God, the Father, from whom all things came and for whom we live, and there is one Lord Jesus Christ, through whom all things came and through whom we live. You're one family because you have one Father. You have one Father. And I read this text, and I got to go back to this one. I'm going to go back to Acts chapter 17. You got a Bible? Open to Acts 17. You don't have one? I'll read it to you. Acts 17. Because in Acts 17, we really read about this one Father and why it matters. I'm going to set it up for you. So we got the Apostle Paul as a missionary. His name is Paul. You need to know his name. So say Paul. Everybody will say Paul. Paul. Good deal. So he's Robert or Kerry. He's the lead guy. He's going all over the world preaching Jesus. By the way, he's facing a lot of persecution while he's doing this. He goes to the city of Athens, which was the university city of his day. And while he's in Athens, he starts wandering around the marketplace. And he sees all these pagan idols around him. And it really stirs his heart. Because he wants people to know there are not a lot of idols out there. There's just one Father. In fact, Paul wants to bring everybody together under one Father. He wants to bring all races together under one Father. He wants to bring all nationalities together under one Father. He wants to bring men, women, old, young. He wants to bring all of humanity together under the blessing of one Father. So here, I want you to hear what happens. Paul was waiting for them in Athens. He's waiting for some other missionaries to show up. He's distressed to see that the city was full of idols. So he reasoned in the synagogue with Jews and God-fearing Greeks, as well as in the marketplace. I just can't help but stop and say right here, listen guys, I know you know this, but I'm going to say it again. The gospel belongs in the marketplace. It doesn't belong in church. Like this is a safe place, isn't it? But when you leave here, that's when you take the gospel out. Like it can't just stay right here. Paul didn't just wait and go to church, and then at church they all talked about the gospel. And when he got out, he wasn't ashamed of it. When he got out, he talked about who Jesus is out in the marketplace. He walked the streets talking about Jesus. Unashamed, unafraid, full of courage. So, day by day, he speaks. And then we read this. So I'm in verse 18 of chapter 17, book of Acts. A group of Epicurean and Stoic philosophers began to dispute with him. Some were saying, what's this babbler trying to say? And others remarked, he seems to be advocating foreign gods. And they said this because he was preaching good news about Jesus and the resurrection. Now, I'm going to stop. You probably don't care who the Epicureans and the Stoics were, but they were the college professors of their days. Paul's in the college university town. He's with the college professor of his day. These are the philosophers of the day. And as he talks about the good news of Jesus, they're kind of making fun of him. You know, what's this nonsense? What's this foolishness he's talking about? Why? I don't want you to miss a word here. Because he's preaching the good news of the resurrection. He's talking about good news. I just want to stop and say, you get it that the gospel is good news, don't you? It ain't bad news. Like it's not bad news. Let me tell you what's bad news. Bad news is leaving people in their self-destructive behavior. That's bad news. Good news is reaching in and finding people where they are and letting them see how God can rescue them from that. That is good news. So Paul shares the good news. in this university setting. And we read this. They took him, verse 19, and brought him to a meeting on the Areopagus. So this was like the college university symposium. This is a room like this. It's on top of a hill, named after the Greek god Mars, Areopagus. And they said, may we know what this new teaching is that you're presenting? You're bringing some strange ideas to our ears, and we want to know what they mean. So 21, the author kind of gives you a comment. He says, all the Athenians and the foreigners who lived there spent their time doing was talking and listening to the latest ideas. So he's just basically saying, just like any college, they talk and talk and talk and don't do anything. Sorry. I went to school. That's what they do. They talk, they talk, they talk, they talk. They come with theories, they publish articles. You go back and smoke a cigar and drink a glass of brandy or whatever. But this is what they're doing in Athens. They're just talking. And so they want to hear Paul's new ideas. So here's what I want you to hear. This is where we sort of get to this thing of who we are. Paul stood up in the meeting of the Areopagus, verse 22, and said, men of Athens, I see that in every way you are very religious. For as I walked around and looked carefully at your objects of worship, I even found an altar with its inscription, to the unknown God. And here's one of the best sentences in all the scriptures. Now what you worship as something unknown, I'm going to proclaim to you. So I'm going to start right here. When Paul gets there, he sees all these idols all over the city. So I've had the privilege of being in Athens on a number of occasions. Even today, when you go to the ruins of old Athens, you see temple after temple after temple, altars. They had a god for everything in Athens. They had a god for war. Yeah, you want a god for war? We got that. God for sex? Yeah, got a couple of those. They had a god for how to communicate with the sky, a god for the sun, a god for the moon, a god for the trees. They had a god for the water. They had a god for everything. Paul says, yeah, I see you're religious. You got all these gods out there. Now I'm going to tell you about the real one. I'm just going to stop and say this. You know, we're not all that different today. So, those of you who've been rescued by Christ, you were rescued from an idol. Like, we still got idols, right? You know that, don't you? Hey, I'm going to put it this way. Everybody in the world worships something. Everybody worships something. The only question is who you worship. Either you worship the idol of whatever it is that your thing is. You know, I read somebody said that the number one idol in America is called Athletica. It's the idol of sports. I don't know if that's true or not. I'll tell you what, I've seen some parents where you're pretty sure that's what they're worshiping with their kids. For some of you, I'll tell you what the idol is you gotta have a boyfriend. Like you can't live without some boy to love you. Or maybe it's the other way around. You gotta have a girlfriend. I mean, see, we know that drugs and alcohol are idols for some people. Sex is an idol for people. Money's an idol for people. You know all that. We get all that, right? We all know that. We got an idol for everything. And people worship their idols. I mean, they're really serious about their idols. Now, I'm going to tell you something about every idol that we have in America today. You know, there's one common element to every idol. And this really matters, guys. Listen to this. Every idol in America really is all about one thing. You know why people have to have sex, why they have to do their money stuff, and why the girls got to have a relationship, why guys are all about Athletica, you know, popularity and money and all that. You know what? It all boils down to one thing. It's that every single human is hurting inside, and we're looking for something to fix it. Everybody is. You tell me you're not, I know you're a liar. Every man is angry. Every man in this room has an anger problem. All men do. We're mad the world's not the way it's supposed to be. We're all worked up about this. That's how come men explode all the time. I'm just here to say, at the root of every idol is a brokenness deep inside, and we're looking for somebody, something, to either salve the pain, to fill the void, to tell us we're loved, to make us feel like we really do matter in the world. And this is why idolatry is so bad, because idols never satisfy the brokenness inside. They can't do it. They can't do it. Landon Saunders, a preacher, I don't even know if he's still alive. He probably is. If he's sitting out there, forgive me for not knowing if you're alive or not. But he's getting old. if he's alive. I heard him tell a story some years back. They were scuba diving at some lake in Arkansas. They jumped out of the water, and they're grabbing stuff off the bottom, and they bring it up, and they set it on the dock. It was just for fun. And some guy goes down, he picks up a Coke can, he puts it on the dock, and they sit on the dock, and all of a sudden they see water splashing out of the Coke can. They look inside the Coke can, and lo and behold, there's a catfish in the Coke can. And the catfish is too big to get out of the hole. And they realize what happened. That catfish had swam into the Coke can when he was little, looking for shelter. And then he grew so big, he couldn't get out, and what he thought was going to shelter him became his prison. And he'd have died if they hadn't found him. That's what every idol does. Every idol says, come to me, I'll give you pleasure. Come to me, I'll take care of your hurt. Come to me, I'll make you significant. I'll give you what you're looking for. And every one of them is a trap. By the way, you know what Sanders said they did? He said they cut the top off that can. They gently put that can in the water and said that catfish hesitated a bit, swam out a moment, and then began to swim off in the lake. And as it did, it turned back. And with a tear in its eye, it waved goodbye to them. That's just a joke, that part. But I thought it was pretty funny when he said that. I like that part. That's what idolatry does. Idolatry lures you in. I'm telling you guys, idolatry lures you in, and it never solves the problem. So when Paul comes and says, I see you're religious, and everybody's religious. Hey, every atheist is religious. Like if you don't believe it, you think, I'm not sure about God, I don't believe in God. Let me tell you something. You worship something. You worship something. You worship something. Y'all know the name Bob Dylan? Does anybody know the name Bob Dylan? He's like just me and my generation and all. Bob Dylan became a Christian like in the 83 or 84, something like that. Bob Dylan, by the way, won a Nobel Prize for literature. He's so good as a musician. I'm not making that up. It's like a folk musician. He came out with an album right after that called Slow Train Coming. And then he said, listen, I don't care who you are. You're going to worship something. I wrote down the lyrics, but I'm not going to take the time on it. It's pretty cool, though, because he just says, I don't care if you're a state trooper. I don't care if you're president. I don't care if you're a preacher. I don't care if you're an atheist. I don't care who you are. Everybody worships something. So here's what we got to get clear in our head. What we got to get clear in our head is what Paul says next. Because what he says, I see you're religious. I see you're religious. What you worship as something unknown, now I'm going to tell you about it. And so for the next few minutes, I want to tell you about your one Father. Your one Father. Here's what he says. I'm in verse 20. I can't read it too good. Verse 24. The God who made the world and everything in it is the Lord of heaven and earth. I'm just going to start there. I just make sure we get it clear. But the God we're talking about is the one who made everything and sustains everything we experience. He made you, and he made you in his image. He made you in his image. You know what that means? I mean, so think about this. You're riding down the road. That's kind of a gross illustration, but it'll get the point across. You're riding down the road. You see a dead dog on the side of the road. What do? You stop. You cradle it in your arms. You kiss it and say, I can't believe this happened. You have a funeral. You call your friends in. No, you don't. It's a dog. You drive by, right? I mean, maybe it hurts you a little bit, but not much. It's a dog. If it's a possum, you just try to run it over again. Or a cat. A cat or a possum. Okay, I want you to imagine a moment you're driving down, you go further down that road, and you see a child over here that's been hit. What do? You drive by, right? No big deal. No way. You stop, you call 911, you would do anything to save that kid's life. You know why? Because that child is in the image of God, and you know it. Even the atheist knows it. Everybody knows it. Everybody knows there's something different about a human. We're not like the animals. We're not like rocks. We're not like trees. We're not like wood. We're different. We bear the image of God. And that's what he's saying. We're made to be like God. So just tell yourself this. When you're hurting inside, when you're lonely inside, when you're lost inside, what that is a sign of is that God, whose image you bear, is trying to get into you. This is how God gets into us. That most of our lives, we spend our lives trying to discover what it's like to be like God. He made us to be like Him. We broke it. Now we spend our lives trying to be like Him again. And only in Jesus does that happen. Only in Jesus does that happen. I got to keep going. So He says here, this Lord made everything. Now keep going. We're going to keep going here. He does not live in temples built by hands. He's not served by human hands as if He needs anything. Second thing I want to say about this God, this Father, this one Father. He doesn't need me. Like, you get that, don't you? God doesn't need us. He's made it all. He sustains it all. He's the source of it all. We're in His image. We're not in His image. He's not in our image. But the awesome thing about it is the whole reason Paul preaches this sermon. God doesn't need you, but He wants you. That's even better. Listen, this is what grace is. Grace is the story of a father who can't stand to be separated from you. Grace is the story of a God who says, I'll take you. You're mine. So I got 2 kids. My son's sitting right out there. Wes, where are you going? What have I said? Oh, you got to go back there. That's probably a bad question to ask, wasn't it? I get more truth than I want. I got a son right over here. My daughter's back at home in Murfreesboro. And I'm going to tell you something. There's nothing I wouldn't do for them. I just adore them both. They're great. They're just great kids. They're awesome people. They're my friends. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. John can tell you that. We're pretty close. And, man, how many times I prayed this prayer about my son? Literally, I've said this. You said this, Carrie. I've said, God, thank you for trusting me with those kids. Thank you for giving them to me and not somebody else. Some of you probably have, you have babies. Some of you got kids. You know why you have kids? Why in the world would you do this? I mean, you know how much your life changes when you have kids? Like, it's the last time you sleep for years. You don't get to sleep again. We had this situation, when they were little, my kids used to come get in bed with me at night. Both of them. They're like 3 and 4 years old. They pile in bed with you. You wake up, you're high, you can't sleep. It's like cheerleaders, you know, give me an H, give me a J. They're all over your body and all. It's true. I mean, just life changes. Now, they're expensive. By the way, I got to tell you this one. So I was traveling one time. I shouldn't tell you this because this is off subject. But it's kind of fun. So I'm traveling one time somewhere. I was flying somewhere. I don't remember where it was. Kids like 3 and 4 years old. And I told the kids, I said, listen, if you'll stay in your bed while I'm out of town, when I get home, I'll give you a surprise. And so, you know, it's kind of a challenge for them and all. So I fly wherever it is I fly. And I come back. I land at the gate there on the airplane. Back then, you could come all the way back to the gate. So I'm getting off the airplane. I look down, and my little redheaded girl's about 4 years old. She's running down the terminal. She sees me getting off the airplane, running down the terminal. John's back there behind her. And as she sees me, she yells at the top of her lungs, Daddy, Daddy, good news. While you were gone, nobody slept with Mommy. Which was good news. I thought that was good news. But, so why would you have kids? Seriously. Think of all your parents have to go through with you. You know why you have kids? There's one reason why you have kids. I don't mean sex. There's one reason why you have kids. That's a consequence, not a reason. There's one reason why you have kids. You know what it is, right? Because you want somebody to love. That's the only reason. We had kids because I wanted somebody to love. So God has you as a kid. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? He had you as his kid. What does that tell you? Yeah, I don't care who it is. Hey, you got a tasty head on that. What does it tell you? God had you because he wanted you to love. He wanted you to be his. That's what it means here when it says, he's talking about God. He says, listen, he is the one who gives all of us life and breath and everything else. Now, I want you to see verse 26, because this has to do with one family. From one man, he made every nation of men. that they should inhabit the whole earth. He determined the time set for them, the exact places where they should live. Just 2 points here. First of all, God's in control of everything. So God was in control when Barack Obama was president. He's in control when Donald Trump's president. He's in control of North Korea. He's in control of all of it. I don't care what they say, God's in charge. There are 196 nations on this planet, but there's only one king. And he will get his way. And every prince and every president and every prime minister and every king and queen that ever lived, one day, let me tell you, this is literally going to happen. One day, you are going to see Barack Obama and Donald Trump bow down on their knees and say, Jesus Christ is Lord. You're going to see that. Because that's going to happen. Because every prince is going to bow down before the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Because he's in charge. He's in charge. He was in charge yesterday. He's in charge today. He's in charge tomorrow. He's not going to get fired, and he's not going to quit. But the other thing I want to say in here, from one man he did it all. From one man. Now you're tempted to think Jesus, and Jesus is a one man in one sense, but what he's saying, he's just saying, hey, come on. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, we're just one in God's eyes. We're just one in God's eyes. And listen, I'm a Southerner. Listen to this. I hesitate to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you how Southern I am. My great-granddaddy's name was Jefferson Davis Young. My great-granddaddy is named after the Confederacy. From South Carolina, where he grew up. The original Confederate redneck state. I'm not picking on South Carolina, I'm just telling you the truth. I look at my family and I think to myself, man, we got a long history here. And I got a member in my church. Her dad was the first African American council member in my entire county. Listen to this. We're not talking about ancient history. I'm not talking about like in the 1800s. I'm talking about 30, 40 years ago. This guy runs for city council. First thing that happens, a cross is burned in his front yard. That's in my town. He gets his windows broken out of his house so commonly by white trash that literally the hardware store comes by once a week, every Monday, and has to replace windows on his house. That's how bad it was. Now, I don't need to tell you that having a judge is a good thing in that world. I'm talking about that judge. Because there's got to be justice. There's just got to be justice. God's a loving God, but he's a just God too. And justice is not bad news there, is it? There's going to have to be some justice there. The world just cries out for justice. But let me say this. In this group, in this body, we can be one.
That's right.
Man, we can be one. We're all jacked up here. I just start there. We're all jacked up. If we all start by saying every one of them is messed up, every one of us is messed up. So what we're going to do is start where we are and love each other intensely and stand united. We're going to be back to back. If you're going to get to one of my brothers, you're going to have to go through me.
That's right.
That's the way it's got to be, guys. If we can't show the world what this is supposed to look like, you ought to just go on home. It's over. If we can't show the world what race is supposed to look like, if we can't do it, this world ain't got no hope.
That's right.
We got to be the one. So that's what he says. From one man he does this. From one man. We got to stand one. We got one Father, and there's got to be one people. And the only way to do that is we just got to make a commitment. I'm going to love you no matter what. You're stuck with me. Because I ain't backing down. Because of who he is, this is who I am. I follow Jesus Christ. I will not back down. So help me God. And I won't back down from you either. I just won't back down from you either. All right, we got to keep going because it's 10:14. Good night. It's late. And Carrie said we're eating after this. I'm in bed 2 hours ago. Eating. Where are we eating? Because that might affect me a little bit. Here's what he says. Verse 27, God did this so that men would seek him, perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from us. For in him we live and move and have our being. Just as some of your poets have said, we are his offspring. Therefore, we should not think that the divine being is like gold or silver or stone, an image made by man's design or skill. I'm going to stop there. So here's what he says. He says, listen, God's right here. I'm going to say this because I'm going to run out of time if I don't go on and do this. Hey, some of you you're not believers yet. You get your guest. By the way, like for me, having you here is so awesome. I hope I'm not boring you to tears. This is serious stuff. But if you're not part of the family of Christ, man, oh, we glad you came. Thanks for giving us a shot. Thanks for giving us a shot. And if you're still looking, here's what this text says. It says he's not far from us. He's not far from us. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. If you're not a Christian, I'm just going to ask you to do this. Just keep asking him, all right, show me what you want me to know. You ask him, show me what you want me to know. Because this text says he's not far from you. Ask him, show me what you want me to know, and he'll show you. Ask him. If you're an atheist, you ask him. By the way, he's likely to show you in such a way you can be shocked. The best thing in the world is the surprised atheist. They're the best people in the world. The surprised atheists. I had no idea there really was a God. They're the best ones. Now here's why we got to finish it up, because here's what he says after this. In the past, I'm in verse 30, God overlooked ignorance, but now he commands all people everywhere to repent. For he has set a day when he will judge the world with justice by the men he's appointed, and he's given proof of this to all men by raising Jesus from the dead. So here's the deal, guys. This is where I want to get to. We have one Father. He's not the idols. He's not all that nonsense that we use to fill the hole inside of us. He's the one true Father. But the text ends by saying, you got to make a decision about this. So I was kind of cutting up with my guys on the way in. And I said, hey, you know what? I'm going to give them some bad news tonight. Because I kind of got some bad news for you. Just forgive me for this. Bad news. But here's the deal. You just heard that there's a Father who's after you. And the bad news is, you now got to make a decision, even if you didn't want to. You got to make a decision. I'm going to say this. If you walk out that door, you made a decision. Either way, you're going to make a decision now. Because this Father is pursuing you. This one Father, he's pursuing you. This one Father is asking for a relationship with you. And he has said, I used to overlook your ignorance. I'm done with it. Now I've appointed a day, and I need a decision. God needs a decision from you. So the bad news is you're about to make a decision even if you don't want to. Like you know that, right? Everybody who's not sound asleep or on drugs is about to make a decision. If you're on drugs, you may, I don't know, maybe you did. If you're awake, you're about to make a decision. You'll know that. Everybody knows that, right? You're about to make a decision about Jesus Christ. You're about to do it. You're going to walk out that door and say, hey, not tonight, not tonight. Who's this guy? It's late. I don't know what you're going to say. You know that's a decision, right? That's a decision of no. No. Yeah, so he's near us. No, he's not going to wait on my ignorance anymore. He's not going to put up with it anymore. But I'm not interested. That's a decision. Or you can make this decision. You can make a decision that says, here I stand. Because of who he is. This is who I am. I follow Jesus Christ. I will not back down. So help me God. You figure out who you are and you'll know what to do. I've been a Christian since I was 8 years old. I've never regretted it, not a single minute of my life. I can't tell you what God has done for me. I can't even go through it all. I got a miracle son sitting right over here. I got a miracle sitting back there. Not just once in his life a miracle. My son, he don't want me to tell you this story, but it's too late. But it's hard. When he was born, he almost died a couple of times. He had to have a major surgery. We weren't sure he was going to live. He was 6 months old. he just had some health problems. He's fine now. He just got a black belt in Taekwondo. Listen, I'm not making this up. He received a black belt in Taekwondo, the shortest time in the history of the Taekwondo sport. I'm not joking. He is the fastest black belt in the history of Taekwondo. I'm not making that up. So it's pretty cool. But when he was little, he had some serious health problems. And we had to do a major surgery on his brain surgery when he was a kid. Had to cut the top of his head off. It was a mess. He's all swollen up. He can't move. He can't speak. He's 6 months old. We think he's going to die. And my wife and I, we prayed one prayer. We prayed it over and over again. We said, God, please heal my son. And we would say this. Literally, we would say, heal him so that one day we get to hear him say a prayer in church. I don't know why we picked that. We just picked that. We want to hear him say a prayer in church. Because we knew that meant his mom would be working, and we knew he'd be a Christian. You with me on that? That's a big prayer. When we're looking at your boy, and he may be dying. I mean, we had listen, his health problem was so bad, one time we had to rush him to the emergency room in the middle of the night. Listen to this. I got my son in there. His chest is collapsed. The emergency room doctor walks around the corner. I'm wondering, where's he going? I go around the corner. The emergency room doctor is sobbing. And I think, dude, I'm in trouble. If he's crying. So my son is baptized in 2005. In April, I got to baptize him. I'd long forgotten that prayer. Yeah, on that one. I'd long forgotten that prayer, by the way, because now he's over all that. He's, what were you, 10 years old? 9 years old, John. And I get invited to speak at Pepperdine University, a big university lectureship thing. There's 5,000 people out in the audience. And they asked me, just before I speak, they said, who do you want to say a prayer? I said, well, I'll just baptize my son. Why don't you let him say a prayer? And so I said, John, he's 10, we'll do whatever, we don't care. And he goes up to say a prayer, and they got these big jumbotrons, you know what I'm talking about, all over the place. I look up and I see my son, and I remembered that prayer from 10 years before. God, let him live long enough for me to see him say a prayer. His first public prayer was said in front of 5,000 people on a jumbotron. So that's what God does. That's who we're talking about, right? That's the one Father we're talking about. We're not talking about like a wimpy father. We're not talking about an idol. We're not talking about a stick. We're not talking about a piece of gold. We're talking about a God who gets down here and does awesome things. Who does awesome things. And so he says to you tonight, you got to make a decision. You're going to leave. You're going to make a decision. Everybody in here is going to make a decision. I just want to say this. Make the decision. Take a chance. Make a decision to follow Jesus. If it doesn't make sense to you, well, hey, seriously, I'm not picking on you. What else made sense to you? Hey, what makes sense today? Nothing makes sense today. I ain't picking on him, but we ain't got a president that makes any sense to me. Half of what I see doesn't make any sense to me. So Lord, it makes sense. Try it. If you don't know what to do, just start following him. Just start following him. Just say, look, Lord, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. That makes sense to me. I've never seen anybody else do it. I don't want to give up my idols. I don't want to give up my pleasure. I don't want to stop doing this. Just try it. Let's ask him, Lord, lead me. You take me where you want to go. I'm telling you guys, I'm telling you the truth on this. You get one chance at life. Don't blow it. You're not going to get to do this again. You get one shot at life. You'll never get it again. You get it once. That's all you get. Once. Do it right the first time. And here's how I want to encourage you to do it. You got one Father. Because of who he is. This is who I am. I follow Jesus Christ. I will not back down. So help me God. I don't know if we do an invitation. You got a song?
Yeah, we can.
Can you fire it up?
Yep. Sure.
Get your homies up here.
What you want? What do you want? I don't know my mic. What's on there right now? We didn't do good time. Nice. Massive.
gonna have you say my thing one more time. I'm gonna have you say my deal one more. We'll stand up, but not yet. Don't stand up just yet. Just give me one more second. I caught you by surprise, didn't I? You know you're gonna have to do
I'm
this.
always ready.
Look, guys, how many of you been to Panama City before? Hey, you ever been? About half of you? A little more? Is there a swimming pool here? Okay. There's two of them? You're back. When's the glad to see you? Everything work out okay back there? In addition to that, you got the Gulf of Mexico, right? Somewhere. Over there somewhere. I don't know where it is. And you got like 600 people that would love to take you in that water and let the old man die and a new one be born. Like you got 600 people. And so you're going to make a decision. You figure out which decision you want to make. You get to make your own decision, but you're going to make one. Stand up with me. Now, if you want me to help you, or you want Robert or Kerry singing, he can't help you. But if you want something, I've had anybody in a blue shirt.
Hey,
can
Marcus
help you.
for bass. Marcus for bass.
And we're going to sing this song. I want you to tell me
Marcus
what we
for
can do.
bass.
I'm going to come down here. You tell me what we can do. And if this ain't your tradition, then don't sweat it. Don't sweat it. But I do want you to say this with me. Lancelot, where are you? Y'all come this right here. We won't do the mics, but they got the mics.
Okay.
We're going to do it one more time. You good? You good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm great.
Because of who God is. This is who I am. I will follow Jesus. I will not back down. So help me God.
Oh, I've heard 1,000 stories of what they think you're like, but I've heard the tender whisper of love in the dead of night, and you tell
this is a start to a whole weekend, guys, of great things that can happen. And I think sometimes it's easy to forget that how much God can use a weekend like this. How much God can change our hearts and how much God can work through our ministries. And there are exciting things that are going on as I get to talk to the different campus ministers here and get to dream about what God wants to do on the college campus. And we get to come and we get to look at what it means to have the Father that we have. And this weekend is going to talk about how that connects us all and how it all pieces it together. And I'm just excited to see what God does with the weekend. I hope you guys are excited to see as well what he does. One of the coolest things is that we're going to get to leave here, and we're going to get to go put on shorts. Thanks, Kiana. And we're going to get to go climb into a freezing cold ocean. But it's definitely worth it, because what's going to be taking place is we're going to get to see two lives go from lives that were living for themselves, doing what they wanted, to surrendering to the Father, to dying to themselves. And the old is going to go away, and something new is going to come up out of that water, and God's going to do powerful things to those people. And so I'm just extremely excited that we're going to get to do that. We're going to sing this. All right. So we're going to sing one more song together, and then after that, people are going to go change. We're going to head down to the beach. We're going to have a couple baptisms, and then you guys can go eat, or if you're really old, you can go to bed. You had it for 45 minutes, but I had it last. All right, so let's stand up and let's sing together.
Sprinkle rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Sprinkle rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Our God, you reign forever. Our hope, our strong deliverer. You are the everlasting God, the everlasting God. You do not faint, you won't grow weary. You're the defender of the weak. You comfort those in need. You lift us up on wings like eagles. Sprinkle rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Sprinkle rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Our God, you reign forever. Our hope, our strong deliverer. You are the everlasting God, the everlasting God. You do not faint, you won't grow weary. You're the defender of the weak. You comfort those in need. You lift us up on wings like eagles. You are the everlasting God, the everlasting God. You do not faint, you won't grow weary. You're the defender of the weak. You comfort those in need. You lift us up on wings like eagles. Sprinkle rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. Sprinkle rise as we wait upon the Lord. We will wait upon the Lord. We will wait